How's it going, Knicks fans? Welcome back to another episode of Fireside Knicks. I'm your host, Dylan Backer, and as usual, I'm joined by my brother and co-host, Justin Backer. And in today's episode, we are going to talk about Jalen Brunson's month of November. October, he was a little up and down, but in the month of November, he's really kicked into a high gear. He's playing phenomenal so far, and the Knicks are rolling also this month. So without further ado, I'm just going to pass off to Justin, let him let his first takeaways on Jalen Brunson's month of November, because he's been just phenomenal this month.
Yeah, so we're gonna talk about the Brunson burner. Shout out to Gus Johnson for that moniker, if you will. Obviously he called Jalen Brunson the Brunson burner in the game that he filled in for Mike Breen. I thought that was amazing. I love Gus Johnson. But anyways, Jalen Brunson started this season kind of slow, like you said. In October, he only averaged 19.8 points per game. He was under 40% from the field, just 38% from the field. His 3-point percentage was great though. He was 46% from three on 7 attempts a night. I mean, last season we had talked about the amount of, volume. If he can start to take more threes and stuff like that, it would make him pretty unguardable, basically. And that's what he's done really all season. He's carried this into November. November, he's having a fantastic month, 26 points a game. He's shooting his shooting splits are much better this month, 46% from the field, 46% from three, and 90% from the line. The 90% from the line is notable because in October he only shot 71% from the line. So, early in the season, it kind of looked like he was missing makeable shots, stuff that we're used to seeing him make, the mid ranges, the floaters, the fadeaways, that type of stuff, the tough shot making that we've become accustomed to with Jalen Brunson. He kind of wasn't falling for him. I don't know what it was. It was just a slow start. Maybe he was, kind of maybe some tired legs from playing with Team USA over the summer. I don't know what it was, but he seems to be back now. He's going to be in the running for Player of the Month. I don't think he's going to win the award, but he'll definitely be a nominee, especially because he just won Player of the Week in the Eastern Conference. So, something that I've noticed about him this season is his 3-point percentage. I'm sure this is something that a lot of people are noticing because, last year he didn't take that many threes. His percentage was good. He shot like 41% from three, which is phenomenal, but he didn't take that many. He took maybe, I want to say like 4 attempts a game, but he's almost doubled that this year. He's up to about 6.7 attempts a night on 48% from three on the season. Like, that's just automatic. I mean, obviously his game is, as we've come to know, his game mainly is in the mid range and the tough shot making, like I alluded to just a minute ago. That's mainly his game. But now all of a sudden he's become one of the best 3-point shooters in the NBA, really. It's 48% through the first month of the season. That's phenomenal on a lot of volume too. This is not, somebody that's taking 2 threes a game and he's making one of them. No, he's taking 6 or 7 threes a night and he's making half of them. That's incredible. I feel like once he starts to really find his groove in the mid-range, because his mid-range numbers are still low. His numbers inside the arc are still a little low compared to what he's, had for his entire career. He's still not the most efficient player in that area. So, considering how great he's been right now this month, he still has another level to really unlock, especially if he can start to get that mid-range to fall more. Like we've been seeing this the last few games recently too. The mid-range has started to fall a little bit more. The floaters are starting to fall more. We're seeing him kind of get back to what he was doing. If he can do that along with this volume of 3-point shooting, man, you're going to see Jalen Brunson jump up to like 28 points a game, 29, even 30. You know what I mean? Just the sky's the limit with his scoring potential. If he's shooting threes at that kind of volume and that efficiency, man, oh man, I mean, like you said, the Knicks are rolling right now. We've talked about how Julius Randle is very important to this team's success. Jalen Brunson is also very important to this team's success. I mean, the guy signed with the team last season and immediately vaulted the team back into relevancy. Really, they took a step back in 2022. They didn't make the playoffs. This is the year after Randle won Most Improved. They didn't make the playoffs. The following offseason, they signed Jalen Brunson. First season, he's phenomenal. He becomes really the team's best player. You know what I mean? So he becomes a star right away. So, the Knicks' success also is very dependent on Jalen Brunson. So throughout the first month, throughout in October, those first 6 or 7 games, the Knicks were 2-4 while Jalen Brunson was struggling. He was only averaging, like I said, 19 points a game. His efficiency was down, just wasn't great. The optics weren't great. But now that he's playing phenomenal in November, I believe the Knicks are 4-2 this month, something like that. They're playing really great basketball this month. I don't know exactly how many games they played this month. I got to be completely honest, but I know that they're playing extremely well. They played 10 games. My mistake. But yeah, they're playing a lot better this month because of Jalen Brunson mainly. And I expect him to be in the running for Player of the Month. And hopefully this continues into next month. And who knows what we're going to see in December and January. Because remember last season, he started the season off a little slow too. Last season, I wouldn't say he started it slow, but he was averaging about 20, 21 points a game through the first month and a half. All of a sudden, December and January rolled around, and we just saw what he was capable of. We saw him average 28 points a game through the rest of the year. I mean, that was just phenomenal. So, I'm really excited to see what's going to happen the rest of the season. I expect him to make an All-Star team at this point. I know the East is really tough. Tyrese Halliburton's looking like an All-Star. Tyrese Maxey's looking like an All-Star. I mean, it's going to be tough, but I definitely do think Brunson needs to be considered among those guys because he's just as elite as those guys are, if not better. So, yeah, that's pretty much all I got to say about this at the moment.
And I just wanted to add too that Jalen Brunson's 26 points per game in the month of November is more than Anthony Edwards, Damian Lillard, Kyrie Irving, Paul George, and Jimmy Butler. Those are just a couple names right there that he's averaging more points than those guys, and we know how good all those other guys are, right? Jalen Brunson's though taking his game to another level yet again. Every single year of his career, he's always ascended in terms of his play. In terms of whether it's efficiency, scoring, even assists and playmaking, all that good stuff, even defense this year. I think that's one that I want to touch on too. His defense has improved a lot this year. He's much better defense, and he's drawing all those charges as well. Like because Jalen Brunson's a small guard, so you don't really expect much defense out of him. I think he's playing really good defense, honestly. Given the circumstance of the fact that he's a small guard, you can't really always hold his own against much taller players. I think he's doing a good job in that regard. That's just aside from the phenomenal scoring that he's been doing. And like we said, first month of the season was kind of just, it wasn't like the worst thing I've ever seen. I've seen worse starts to the season, cough, cough, RJ Barrett last year. But, it was not like the Jalen Brunson we saw, at the end of last season in the playoffs. It was kind of just like, it was okay, but, had a couple stinkers thrown in there. This month of November, though, he's just been phenomenal. He's been consistent. He's already had a few 30-point games. He's had a 45-point game effort as well, which I'm not sure if that's a career high. No, it's not a career high. He had 48 in a game last year, but it's close to it, which is phenomenal just for the start of the season. So it makes me really excited to see how much further he can take it the rest of the way because, I mean, we're only, 14 games into the season, and he's already started to play at a very high level, arguably a higher level than any point we saw last season. So, I'm really excited for what's going ahead of him. And like you said, I definitely think an all-star appearance is in his future. But it's going to be tough because, like you said, Tyrese Maxey's in the way. Other guys like that are in the way. There's Halliburton, especially. Halliburton looks like he might be an all-star starter at the way he's playing right now. So, there's obviously some competition ahead of him, but I really think, like you said, he needs to be considered for it because the Brunson burner has been activated. He is going off right now. And as you said also, I want to allude to that, he is very dependent on the Knicks' success. Like when he was not playing very well, the Knicks were 2-4 last season when the Knicks the Knicks started the season off 10-13 and Brunson was averaging like 20 points a game, which is not bad by any means, but it wasn't the 24 points that he ended up finishing the season with. When he wasn't like taking his game to this high of a level that early in the season, the Knicks were just mediocre. They weren't doing very good. Once he started to take it to a high level, though, the team took off from there and ended up going to the 5th seed. So if he continues to play like this, like you said, the sky really is the limit here for both him and the Knicks, really. The Knicks could get a really high seed if Brunson continues to play at a high level as he's playing right now. Overall, though, I'm just really excited. I'm happy to see he's back because, I'll truthfully say that I was never truly super worried about Brunson, even when he was kind of not doing so good in October, because he was getting the looks he wanted. He was creating all that space and he was getting open shots. They just weren't falling. So all I said was, okay, once he gets those to fall, then he's going to start going off. And sure enough, he's finally starting to see him fall. And yes, it's not perfect because in the 2-point range, he's kind of still been not phenomenal. You feel like there's some shots that he was hitting last year in the 2-point range, especially in the mid range and the floaters and stuff that you want to see drop right now. But at least his 3-point shots are falling. And like you said, he's taking a lot of threes. I mean, he's had games where he's taken 10 threes, 11 threes, 8 threes, 9 threes. He didn't have many games like that, at least through the first half of last season. And now he's taking a lot of threes and he's hitting them. He's shooting 48% from downtown this month, which is just an absurd figure. That's higher than Steph Curry, by the way, which is just absurd. So, overall, like I said, I'm just really, really excited for what he's been doing. I hope to see him continue to take his game to another level, not just the rest of this month, but into the winter months and into the next calendar year leading up to the All-Star break. And who knows, maybe he can make a very strong case for an All-Star team. I put out a bold prediction before the season that he would make the All-Star team and that he would make All-NBA third team. It's a very bold prediction for a reason. All-NBA and All-Star both in the same season is very tough to do, but I really think it can happen if Brunson continues to play like this. I really think it can. I'm gonna pass it back to Justin though if he's got anything else he wants to add, and what we're really looking forward to in the next months coming up.
Yeah, I kind of just want to touch on his 3-point shooting again because that's really amazing to me that his 3-point percentage is higher than Steph Curry's. I did not know that until you just said that. That's kind of amazing to me. Obviously I don't want to overreact to him shooting 48% through the first 14 games or whatever, but I'm curious to see if he can keep that up like around 45% because I mean last year he did shoot 41, 42% from three. Granted, the volume was a lot less, but he clearly can shoot the ball. You know what I mean? So I'm curious to see if he could keep that around 45, 44%, something elite like that. Oh my God, you're talking about one of the best 3-point shooters really in the entire NBA, on top of the fact that this guy can score in 2-point range. You know what I mean? So I don't know, man. This is kind of it's getting a little exciting with Brunson because like I said earlier, you're starting to see the mid range fall a little bit more. These last couple games, he's getting those looks. He's getting the easier looks to fall that he wasn't really seeing drop at the first first 4, 5, 6 games of the season. He wasn't seeing those fall. He's starting to see them fall a little bit more now. Obviously, it's not at the rate we want it to be at, but it's slowly but surely coming. So I'm excited to see what December and January is going to look like, man. If he's in the running for Player of the Month right now in this month of November, oh my gosh, he might be in the running again for the rest of the season. You know what I mean? So I'm just excited for what's to come, really. And yeah, man, I hope the Knicks keep playing well. I hope Jalen Brunson keeps playing well. I expect him to play well. Like you said, I was not very worried about him at the beginning of the season because his process was fine. Some of the turnovers he had at the beginning of the season were a little uncharacteristic. He still kind of got to clean that up a little bit. Just some uncharacteristic turnovers that he's had that are just really silly. But as the season progresses, I feel like that'll clean itself up on its own. I don't expect that to become a huge problem because Brunson's not an erratic player like Julius Randle is. Julius Randle's very erratic. So when he goes on those stretches of just turnover after turnover, it's ugly to watch. Just being completely honest, it's tough to watch. With Jalen Brunson, though, his process is always fine. He always seems to know what he's doing. He always seems to know the right play. So I'm not really worried about like any cold stretches or anything like that. I called him Captain Consistency last season because he was very, very consistent. You knew exactly what you were getting out of him pretty much every night. You knew he was going to be in for a productive night. He was going to, give the Knicks a chance to win, really. So, just I got really nothing else to add. So other than Brunson is great. We know how Brunson is. So I have nothing else to add other than yeah. I hope he keeps playing well.
Yeah, just one thing I want to add to with the whole turnovers thing. I think this no not enough people are talking about this as well, but Jalen Brunson's a very, very smart player. When it comes to such as adjusting mid game, so like for example, if he's turning the ball over, I think he's good at making adjustments and not forcing too many passes after a couple turnovers. I think he's also very, very smart once he gets to the mid range. He knows how to draw fouls. That move where he gets in front of a defender and has him on his back, and then he draws the foul when he pulls up a shot. It works every time. Every single time. I don't think I've seen that fail once. He's a very, very smart player. He knows where to be. He knows his spots, especially, which is very important for a point guard to know where your spots are. Because with Jalen Brunson, obviously he's going to handle the ball more than everybody else. So it's important for him to know not only where he feels comfortable shooting, but where he knows his teammates are going to be and where they are going to want to shoot it, so that he can create it for them. You know what I mean? So I just wanted to touch on that because I really think he's a smart player, and I feel like a lot of people need to kind of realize just how smart of a player he is, because you don't accidentally shoot as efficiently as he is right now. You don't accidentally, pass as efficiently as he has in the past. Obviously, this season's not perfect, but I do feel like it will improve as time goes on. Things like that, you don't accidentally do. It takes a lot of IQ to do it. So, overall, I really want to touch on that. And one more thing I want to say too, this may come off a little bold, but if Brunson keeps playing like this, I think he's a 50, 40, 90 candidate. I really do. I don't think it'll happen because it's going to take a lot to do that, but I do think it's possible. And I think if there's any player, not just on the Knicks, but if there's any other point guards in the Eastern Conference aside from like your Halliburtons and your Maxis that can do it, it's Jalen Brunson. Jalen Brunson can definitely do it. He's efficient pretty much everywhere on the court and in the free throw line as well. He's shooting like 89% from the free throw line this month as well. Remember, he was struggling a little bit from the line the first couple of games of the season. He's cleaned that up now. Now he's really shooting good from the free throw line, which is very, very good thing to have. But I really think he could be a 50, 40, 90 candidate. I really, really do. Yes, it's still early in the season, and that may come off a little bold to say it this early, but we see, like you said, he's captain consistency. He's always been once he gets into a groove, he stays in that groove for a very long time, for a very extended stretch of games. Like we're talking like 20, 30 games of just consistency after consistent performance. You know what I mean? So I really, really think he can get to that level. I really do. I think that's, one of the ceilings that he can reach is if if you want to call it that. He's reaching a 50, 40, 90. Now we know a 50, 40, 90 season is very, very difficult for anybody. Not many guys do it. Usually it's only like a very small handful, if not even like less than that get it every single season. But I think Brunson is one of those guys that can be one of those guys that can do it. I really think he's a guy to watch for. I think the rest of the league needs to kind of keep that on notice that he could do that because he's that good of a player. He's that efficient. He's that smart. He's that good with his shots. He's a very good shot maker. So yeah, that's all I really wanted to say. But I do think this is a good time to wrap it up. So guys, thank you so much again for tuning into this video. We really appreciate your guys' support. You can check out the audio versions of this podcast on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. You can give us a 5-star rating on those. You can check us out on all of our social media platforms. We're on X, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, of course, this YouTube page that you're watching the video on. Make sure you leave a like, comment, and subscribe on this channel. And with that, we'll see you guys in the next episode of Fireside Knicks. Peace out.